You see them on the red carpet, smiling for cameras. But behind the fame, some of your favorite celebrities have spent time behind bars. From action stars to pop icons, here are celebrities who went to jail, and you probably had no idea. Back in 1995, Hugh Grant was arrested in Los Angeles after a public scandal involving a sex worker. He pled no contest, paid a fine, and completed an AIDS education program, a moment he later said taught him humility. In 1999, Matthew McConaughey was caught dancing naked and playing bongos during a noise complaint. He wasn't charged for drugs due to a technicality, but he did face a resisting arrest charge after struggling with police. A wild night that became Hollywood legend. In 2011, Mel Gibson pled no contest to a charge of simple battery and was sentenced to community service, counseling, and 3 years of probation. It came after a highly publicized altercation, another chapter in Gibson's long list of Hollywood controversies. In 2011, Nicolas Cage was arrested in New Orleans after a heated, alcohol-fueled argument with his wife in the French Quarter. He was briefly detained, but the charges were dropped soon after. The incident became another wild chapter in Cage's unpredictable life. Before he became Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. faced a long battle with addiction. In the late 90s, he was arrested several times on drug charges, even breaking into a neighbor's house while high. He spent nearly a year in jail before turning his life around, leading one of Hollywood's greatest comebacks. In 1994, Johnny Depp was arrested for trashing a New York hotel room during an argument with then-girlfriend Kate Moss. Although the charges were dropped, he paid $10,000 in damages, famously blaming the chaos on a missing armadillo. In 1987, Sean Penn was arrested for punching an extra on the set of Colors. Already on probation at the time, he was sentenced to 60 days in jail, serving 33, one of several brushes with the law in his early career. In 1988, 16-year-old Mark Wahlberg was arrested for assault, facing multiple charges, including battery with a deadly weapon. He served 45 days in jail and later sought to clear his record, with the victim publicly forgiving him, a turning point before his rise to Hollywood fame. Between 2007 and 2012, Lindsay Lohan faced a string of arrests, from DUIs and probation violations to theft and alleged assault. Some charges were dropped, but her legal troubles dominated headlines for years before she finally turned her life around. In 2008, Wesley Snipes was convicted for failing to file his taxes and served 3 years in federal prison. He later said the experience taught him the true value of time and what freedom really means. In 1992, boxing legend Mike Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison for rape, a case he claimed was consensual. He served about half his sentence and was released in 1995, eventually returning to the ring and rebuilding his career. In 2014, a 19-year-old Justin Bieber was arrested in Miami after failing a sobriety test during what he called a good time out. Reports say he acted agitated and even compared his life to the officers, a moment that became a major wake-up call for the young star. Danny Trejo spent much of his early life in and out of jail due to drug addiction and crime. After serving multiple prison sentences, he turned his life around and became a Hollywood star, known for playing some of the toughest characters on screen. In 1978, Tim Allen was arrested with over a pound of cocaine and spent more than 2 years in federal prison. Nearly 20 years later, he was arrested again for DUI, but after rehab and probation, he completely turned his life around and became one of TV's most beloved comedians. In 2003, Michael Jackson voluntarily surrendered to California authorities after being accused of child molestation. He was booked, fingerprinted, and released on $3 million bail while awaiting trial. Jackson was later acquitted of all charges, but the case left a lasting mark on his public image. On Christmas Day in 2009, Charlie Sheen was arrested in Aspen on charges of assault and menacing following a domestic dispute. The case drew massive media attention and marked the beginning of a very public downward spiral for the Two and a Half Men star. Before The Godfather made him a legend, Al Pacino had a brush with the law. In 1961, he was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon in Rhode Island. After spending a few days in jail, the charges were dropped when police confirmed he had no criminal intent, just an actor chasing his dreams. In 1970, Jane Fonda was arrested at a Cleveland airport on suspicion of drug smuggling, but the so-called pills turned out to be vitamins. She later said the arrest was politically motivated to silence her anti-war activism. The mugshot? Now iconic. In 2003, Martha Stewart was investigated for insider trading. While she wasn't convicted of that charge, she was found guilty of lying to investigators and served 5 months in prison, followed by house arrest and probation. She later turned her comeback into one of the most successful in business history. In 1967, Rolling Stones icons Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were arrested after a police drug raid. Jagger received a 3-month sentence, and Richards got a year, sparking public outrage and even editorials defending them. The case helped turn the band into counterculture legends. In 1982, Woody Harrelson was arrested in Columbus, Ohio, for dancing in the street and resisting arrest when police showed up. He later laughed about it, calling it one of the strangest nights of his life. In 2023, former U.S. President Donald Trump was arrested in connection with alleged 2020 election interference. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, marking one of the most high-profile legal moments in American history. In 2001, Winona Ryder was arrested for stealing $5,000 worth of clothing from Saks Fifth Avenue. She was convicted of grand theft and shoplifting, yet surprisingly, the scandal led to a lasting friendship with designer Marc Jacobs, whose clothes she had taken. Phil Spector was convicted of the 2003 murder of actress Lana Clarkson and sentenced in 2009 to 19 years to life in prison. He remained incarcerated until his death in January 2021, a dark end for the legendary music producer. In 1938, a young Frank Sinatra was arrested on a bizarre charge of seduction, essentially for making false promises to a woman. When it turned out she was married, the charge changed to adultery, then was quickly dropped after he posted bond. The incident became an odd footnote in the legend of Old Blue Eyes. In 2017, Shailene Woodley was arrested while protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline, and she live-streamed the entire event. She later revealed she was strip-searched and experienced PTSD afterward, saying the incident made her step away from social media for months. In 1999, Jay-Z was arrested in Manhattan after allegedly stabbing a record executive. He pled guilty and received probation, though the victim later stated that Jay-Z wasn't the attacker, a controversial incident in the rapper's rise to fame. Macaulay Culkin, the Home Alone star, was arrested in 2004 for carrying controlled substances after a traffic stop in Oklahoma. He later pled guilty, paid fines, and avoided jail time, proving even childhood fame can come with adult consequences. In 2012, Russel Brand was arrested in New Orleans after throwing a photographer's iPhone through a window. The incident led to an arrest warrant and briefly made headlines. Just another chaotic chapter in the comedian's wild life. In 2010, Bruno Mars was arrested in Las Vegas for possessing narcotics after a hotel staff member reported suspicious behavior. He later pled guilty, completed community service, and went on to become one of the biggest names in pop music, truly turning things around. Bill Cosby faced accusations from more than 60 women, leading to his 2018 conviction for sexual assault. He served nearly 3 years before the verdict was overturned due to a prior legal agreement. Even so, new civil lawsuits continue to emerge as recently as 2023. Paris Hilton's legal troubles started early. In 2006, she was arrested for DUI and continued driving despite a suspended license. In 2010, she pled guilty to drug charges after being found with marijuana and cocaine, receiving community service, probation, and a fine. Yet she bounced back into the spotlight. In 2006, Snoop Dogg was booked in Orange County for possessing a deadly weapon. He surrendered voluntarily, posted $150,000 bail, and was released shortly after, a minor legal hiccup for the legendary rapper. In 1977, a young Bill Gates spent a night in a New Mexico jail after a traffic stop. He didn't have a license and ended up sharing the cell with some inebriated inmates. Years later, he laughed about the experience in interviews, proving even tech billionaires have humble beginnings. In 2010, Lil Wayne began serving a 1-year prison sentence after an unlicensed gun was found on his tour bus in 2007. He served 8 months before being released and later shared his experience in a memoir, reflecting on the tough time behind bars. In 2017, Tiger Woods was arrested in Florida for DUI involving multiple substances. He later pled guilty to reckless driving, with more serious charges dropped. A dramatic moment in the life of the golf superstar. Suge Knight, co-founder of Death Row Records, has faced numerous legal battles. In 2018, he was convicted of voluntary manslaughter after running over a man during a street confrontation and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. Harvey Weinstein, once a Hollywood powerhouse, was convicted in 2020 of sexual assault and rape. He is now serving a 23-year sentence, a landmark case in the Me Too movement against sexual misconduct in the entertainment industry. Shannon Richardson, a former actress, was sentenced to 18 years in prison for mailing ricin-laced letters to President Obama and New York's mayor. She tried to frame her estranged husband, but pled guilty to producing a biological toxin, a shocking crime that made headlines nationwide. R. Kelly, once a Grammy-winning R&B star, was sentenced to 30 years in prison in 2022 for sexual abuse and trafficking charges. Years of investigations, highlighted in the surviving R. Kelly docuseries, revealed his actions and brought an end to his career. Danny Masterson, star of That 70s Show, was sentenced to 30 years to life in 2023 for raping 2 women. He is currently serving his sentence in a California prison, a dark chapter in his life and career. In 2024, Sean Diddy Combs was arrested and is currently in jail facing serious charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering. His trial began in May 2025, and if convicted, he could face life in prison, a shocking development for the music mogul. Even fame can't keep you out of trouble. Which of these celebrity arrests shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.